I literally quit an $80,000 a year job to start this. I'm Stephen Taylor. This is WeeklyST. We're giving you a behind-the-scenes look, my thoughts on entrepreneurship, business, and growing a Chicagoland IT support company. Go ahead and like it, subscribe it, share it, clap it, heart it, add me to your top 8. Today we're going to talk about how I got started. So some people would say I had a challenging or horrible childhood, right? My dad left when I was 7. My mom died when I was 10. I was out of the house at 16. I dropped out of college. I had been in the insurance business for quite some time, but I was always the computer guy that people would call. And so I had this idea. I'm like, I could really do this stuff better than everybody else. I kept hearing stories of, oh, we've got a computer guy now, but they don't show up, or they're charging us too much, or whatever it might be. And so I think a lot of us just kind of fall into entrepreneurship, right? We have this great idea. So many people have great ideas and very few actually start, right? And so you have to just force yourself to jump in. And it took me 3, 4, 5 months, right, of just pondering and researching and thinking and trying to get all the answers before you start. And I actually quit. I was making $80,000 a year at 25 years old. And so it was a big, am I going to do this, right? And so 2010, I quit that job and I started with nothing, right? I didn't have any money. I didn't have really any clients or anything else. I was just, the computer guy that people knew. And so it took me about a year to really get something going, and you're forced, right? You have to figure it out. You're hustling every single day to make a buck, so that you can eat. And so it was a very scary to jump in, but a super exciting time. And you kind of commit, you jump in and you force yourself to do it. But I think so many people, they have these great ideas. They don't end up doing anything with it. And I think it's because of this fear of I just need to figure out this. I need to have this duck in a row. I need to make sure I know this, or I need to learn more about that. And the truth is I'm still trying to figure stuff out, right? And you just have to start. As a growing individual, but as an entrepreneur, right, you end up climbing your way up, right? And call it a ladder, call it a staircase, whatever it might be. It's at that point in my life when I started, I only had so many tools, right? I only had so much knowledge. I was Googling and researching everything I could, but you grow. And so these next iterations of you become the next iterations of the business, and bigger, faster, stronger, better, so on and so forth. When I started the company, I thought, we'll probably have a few employees and, we'll be doing business and things like that. But never back then would I have thought we would come so far to be, 15 plus employees and a multi-million-dollar company that we are today. But now I'm at this different rung of the ladder that tells me there's more to be done, and I can continue this work and we continue to grow it, right? But there's kind of these plateaus that you might get to, or these rungs, and you're learning more, you're breaking through, whatever it might be. And so you just keep going. I sweat the decision for months. I remember it was holiday time in 2009, I think, right? And I was all day I would just dream about this business and what I could do and everything. This was before I even started, right? And finally, you're so worried, you're fearful, you don't know what you don't know, and you want to make sure again, you have all the ducks in a row, but you'll never be able to have it all figured out. I believe that success can come from that adversity, right? And not success in the making lots of money, right? That's not me. I'm all about wholly successful, right? So it's all the different tenets in your life and doing good in all of those things, because otherwise you're out of band, right? If one thing is so far to the left or the right, or you're so focused on money, then you're not focused on relationships or impact or any of these other things, because it pulls it off to the side. So for me, I want to have a wholly successful life, and I think, like I said last week, right? If that means that we don't make it to $100 million business, then I'm okay with that, right? Because I'm not willing to sacrifice everything else in life for the sake of business. I want it to be impactful in all the different places. At the time, it scared the shit out of me, right? Oh my God, I'm going to give up my livelihood. How horrible, am I going to crash and burn, all that kind of stuff. For the first few months, it's the excitement and the getting going, but yeah, you're oh God, how do I make this work? And after, I think it was about 8 months in, I was oh my God, if I don't figure this out, I'm going to have to go get a job or something. But at the time, I knew that where I wasn't working, right? Like, yes, I was making good money and it was an all right job, but it wasn't inspiring me. I wasn't growing. I was this complacency and all these things. So you look at it and you go, well, this isn't my next 5 to 10 year plan. I've got to do something different. What does that look like? Okay, here's this idea. And again, let's jump in. So, and of course now it's easier to talk about because you look at the bigger picture of the last 9+ years, right? A lot of people, it's like, well, you have to make money to be happy. No. And the get rich quick scheme. No, this is a 9-year overnight success, so to speak. And it's going to be another 10 years before we really blow the doors off the thing, right? And those are my goals more so. We talked about this also a few weeks ago. It's not just about me, right? To get the business going and to get started, I had to focus on, well, I need to make this work and I'm the one who's going to drive it forward and everything else. Long term, though, you start to realize it's not so much the impact for you, it's the impact for your teams. Like, we're the livelihood for 15+ families here, right? And we're from a technology perspective, we're the improvement and the security blanket for 2,500 end users at 80+ customers. There's an impact bigger than me and this building and this business that, goes out into our communities. And that's the driver nowadays. It's the impact. It's not just about me. Looking back, right, I'm able to see these different plateaus of me or growth phases, right? When I started the business, I was just like a kid going, well, I'm going to figure this shit out, right? And you just work your face off. And I did that for a few years to get it rolling, to get some employees, to get some clients, right? And back then, here's what I tell everybody, like, when you first start, you have to make money. If you don't have any money, you're not going to survive as an individual nor as a business. Money is the blood of a business. Cash is the lifeblood of a business. So you've got to sell. You've got to talk to as many people as you can about what you're doing, about what you're up to, about what you can offer them, and then the word spreads and you grow a business from there. I had to learn to do that. I had some experience from the insurance industry selling, home and auto policies, so I had a little bit of sales experience. So thankfully I was a little bit more capable than the typical, I'm just the engineer, right? But I had to grow into that role, right? And as you start to build out a business and you have, 5 employees and you're putting in systems and things like this, again, it's another learning phase, another growing phase. What is it that I need to know to run a successful business? Okay, well, you've got to have good processes. You've got to have things that are repeatable. And then it's not just on you to wear all the many hats of the business. And for me, it took, 3 or 4 years. Then I hired a right-hand man. He came with some capabilities on more of the operations side. I got out of the technical roles. One of the biggest things in business into growing a business is sales. Again, and as the owner, that's probably your primary focus, unless you're going to build a sales team, right, and shortcut it. But you become the primary sales force for that business, and you've got to set goals and you've got to work every day. And we're the notorious ADD squirrel, I don't want to work on this. Nobody tells me what to do. And so you have to crack yourself down and say, I need to continue growing this business. And we're still doing that today, right? We have a 2-year growth strategy. These are the marks that we want to hit. And here's all the stuff that we'll have to carry, to get there. And it's about discipline, right? And routine. But each of these different, plateaus or growth phases or however you call it, I can clearly see where either I became the bottleneck or the only thing I have to blame is myself, or looking at myself and saying, okay, what do I need to do to break through this and get us to another level? And so, every couple of years, there's these clear distinctions of, okay, here's how I have to evolve and change. And it's not just it doesn't just dawn on you one day, but you are stuck or something's not breaking free. And hopefully via the peer groups that you're in or the friends you have or the conferences you go to or speakers that you hear or all of this learning, right? I try and read, probably 20 to 50 books a year, and there's always something in there. You're finding these nuggets or these breakthroughs that then lead you to, okay, now we can get to this next phase of the business. But really, again, it leads with me. So you're constantly having to grow and kind of reinvent yourself or beat yourself at your own game, so to speak.